you. Who that? Nope, 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 nope. Okay, that's fine. It's I, Emmanuel. Versus nope. Okay, so a short introduction to Kant. Kant is arguably, I mean, definitely actually, the single person who has contributed to deontological ethics like the most out of all ethical philosophers. So what he says is that there's this thing called the categorical imperative. And it's actually really complicated, but just to simplify it down a lot, it essentially says that there's some things that are right or wrong. And when something violates one of your rules, it's wrong, and it's always wrong. So maybe if one of your rules was don't kill anyone, it doesn't matter if you're killing someone to save more people. It doesn't matter if the person you're killing is a murderer. None of that stuff matters because you should never violate that rule, no matter what. Otherwise, you're doing something immoral. So just to further paint what like Kant's view, there's a famous story. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but it's very famous. And the story is that one time Kant, one time an axe murderer came to Kant's house, and or actually, so I think actually someone asked Kant. Let's say that an axe murderer comes to your house, and the axe murderer says, "I want to kill your mother. Is your mother hiding in the house?" And Kant says, and the person asks Kant, like, what would you do? Would you lie? Because maybe not lying could be one of the rules. And Kant said, no, I would not lie. So Kant would say, yes, his mother was in the house. So that's kind of an interesting, very interesting actually, demonstration of what Kant means when he says that wrong actions are always wrong. Like if lying is always wrong, then he's just never going to lie.
If he lies, he's breaking another one of his rules, because if he does that lying, then his mother will get killed. And if he says that like killing is like not good, then if he lies, that's leading to killing. So it's kind of like no matter what you do, you have to break a rule.
That's a very good point. That's actually what we're going to talk about next with W.D. Ross. So before we get there, does anyone have any questions about Kant? Okay. Well, if you Alvin says you disagree with Kant, okay. He seems old. Yeah, he's from quite a while ago. But if you decide to learn more about philosophy, Immanuel Kant is a name that you're going to encounter a lot. And same with Jeremy Bentham, probably. But more so Kant. I can't say much about it. Okay. The next person that we're going to talk about is W.D. Ross. So W.D. Ross, so first of all, we see there's a lot of problems with Kant's ideas. Like obviously, any reasonable person would say they're probably going to lie to save their mom. And Kant's ideas had a lot of contradictions. Like what if something violates two rules at once? Or do you just like do nothing? Are you just stuck there immobile forever? Or what do you do, right? So W.D. Ross aimed to fix this problem. Well, actually, a lot of philosophers aimed to fix this problem. But W.D. Ross was probably one of the most famous ones. So W.D. Ross developed a system where he said that there's many different types of duties. And these duties, some of them override others. So there's some that are more important than others. Exactly what these duties are not important. But what Ross said were that the duties were fidelity, reparation, gratitude, non-injury, harm prevention, beneficence, self-improvement, and justice. How he did not found Ross Dress for Less. So essentially what he said is, like maybe going back to, yeah, Jane, essentially what he's saying is rules have a different amount of importance. Going back to the axe murderer, it is true that you should not lie. However, your duty of harm prevention is greater than your duty of not lying. So therefore, one outweighs the other. So you can choose. So now the question is like, yeah, Frank, basically there are exceptions. some obligations outweigh others. Harrison, did that not make sense? Oh, okay, good. So a lot of people had this problem with Ross's philosophy now. And the question is, how do you decide which obligation is more important? Someone drew a mustache. Okay, I'm gonna keep that there, but don't draw anymore. And Ross didn't have a good answer. Ross just says, we have to base it upon intuition. So there's some cases where that's obviously true, right? Going back to the example of the axe murderer, intuitively, we just know that saving the mother is more important than not lying. However, what about other cases that are less clear-cut? How can we use our intuition reliably? And what if some people have different intuition than others? How do we resolve the problem then? And I'm not going to ask you guys to resolve that question because there's not really a good answer to that. It's something that all deontological frameworks struggle with. How do you determine what is more important than the other? But yeah, that was a summary of deontology and probably two of the most important people in deontology. Anyone have any questions about deontology, Quant, or Ross? Okay, great. So originally, I was going to talk about Aristotle and his virtue ethics, but we only have 10 minutes left, and I wanted to get to the fun part of the lecture instead of just me talking to you the entire hour, which I assure you, this is like the only class that I'm going to do that. The future classes is not going to be that much talking, or less talking from me at least. So yeah, we're going to skip virtue ethics for now. And we'll do this at the beginning of the next class because I want to get to the sample ethical dilemmas. First of all, let me address some questions, but you guys can read it while I'm addressing the questions. So Emmy says, do you think deontology is problematic? I mean, do I personally think? It definitely has its shortcomings, but so does every other philosophical framework. So it's kind of difficult to like, that's why this is still an open question, right? Okay. So on to the sample ethical dilemma. There is a company which has found the cure for cancer. However, since the cure is rare and costly, it costs $1 million. A man who has a mother dying from terminal cancer hears about this and decides to steal some of the cure for his dying mother. His mother is saved by the cure. Was the man right to steal? So I have 3 questions for you guys. And once again, I would strongly prefer if you unmuted and talked rather than typing the chat. So first, you can answer any of these. What would a consequentialist say? What would a deontologist say? And what do you think? So Maris said no, no, no. Well, I'm not sure if that's true, Maris. Why do you say no for, or sorry, go ahead. You can go ahead first. Did someone want to talk?
No, but I would say a deontologist was probably gonna say what? Wait, what? Deontologist would probably say no because it probably outweighs the benefits. Because what if someone else in the hospital was also dying of cancer and that was their cure and he stole it? And a consequentialist would probably say you're going to get caught, so that outweighs the benefits. And he can just buy the cure, right?
Well, okay. Well, assume that he can't buy the cure. I agree with your evaluation of consequentialist, but I feel like deontologist. I mean, my point about deontology is you mentioned outweigh, but deontology doesn't really consider what outweighs something else unless we're talking about like obligations, because I mean, it's not considered as consequences. It's more about following rules. And like a very common rule is do no harm. And do no harm, it seems to be that stealing this rare cure for cancer could be doing harm. So I'd actually say that in general, a deontologist would probably lean towards not stealing. But I agree with your evaluation of consequentialist. I'm going to read the chat. Maris says no, no, no. Yes, no, no. Yes, no, IDK. Yes, no, yes. Without doubt. Yes, no, yes. Yes, no, yes. So most people are saying yes, no, yes. That's what I think too. At least for the first two, consequential and Scientologist. I would say that in general, it seems like the benefits are skewed towards stealing, whereas stealing is probably disobeying some rule. But I'm curious as to see, first of all, who thinks that a consequentialist would say no? Well, Alvin said that, and Maris said that. So do one of you two want to explain your reasoning?
Yeah, consequently say no because his mother survives, right? But the company's employees, the scientists, they because the cure was the cure of the cancer was be still, right? But so they work for many maybe 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Their life they put them life on this cure, but they just be stilled. They might be get off the job. They might don't have money. They might break out, and they're gonna die. They gonna just live down the street.
Yeah, the consequences would probably say no because, like, for the person stealing, he like his mother benefits, but like that's like only one benefit. But then the man does not get a benefit because he gets caught in prison. But then like or he might get caught and stuff. And then also the company like gets like everyone who works with the company like gets an unbenefit, and then the like people who can actually afford one and actually died because that one cur got stolen are like don't benefit. And then finally the scientist who made it might have accidentally wrote something wrong or something, so then like he steals it and then they won't ever make it again, and that's another like not benefit. So like
I agree that.
Would probably say that like there are like a billion unbenefits and one benefit. So like the consequentialist would probably say that.
I see. Okay.
I have an objection.
Yeah, go ahead.
So some people argue for a consequentialist where like after you steal the cure, it saves the mother's life. But I argue that like it's only a short-term benefit, and if you look at it from a different perspective, also of a consequentialist, if a person steals, he or she might develop the habit of doing so, and when they grow up, they might do it again, which that is also consequential. So if you look at it from a different perspective, it could actually go both ways.
That's a really good point. Okay. That actually ties into also arguments about why it's good to follow the law. Like, could get into a habit of not following the law as well. So yeah, that is definitely a valid point.
Okay.
Let's see.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Okay. If the guy, so someone said, if you steal the cure, you might not be able to make it again. If you were smart, you would like save like the cure to like a computer or something, so you can make it over and over again.
That's probably
sorry. Yeah. What you say if that if right? So that is imagine. You don't know how to do that.
Well, we can assume that they can still make the cure.
Well, what if the ingredient is super rare and there's only like there's like a lot of them, but when scientists last went there, but then after like some kind of vegetation or an accident or an oil spill or something, it kills all the plants.
Well, once again,
so, like, the scientists hadn't used it before, then they would have been able to.
That's kind of BS, not gonna lie.
Dude, we discussed about the consequence list.
Okay, list. Please be civil in the discussion. Bradley, I see your hand, but really quickly, I'm just going to respond to that. Remember that we're talking about expected consequences. So while it is true that maybe a growth, like a plant or like an explosion or a natural disaster causes damage, that's unlikely. So we have to consider the fact that it's also unlikely. But we also consider the fact that it is possible. So once again, it's all about expected consequences. So Rowlett, what were you going to say?
Oh, sorry. We talk about the consequence list, right? We not discuss about how they do that. We just discuss about the consequence list.
Yeah.
And the other people discuss about the how to do that, why they do that. But as my idea, we just talk about the consequence list. Some people die, some people survive. That's the consequence list. We discussed above and compare with the number of the people survive, the number of the people die, and that's a conquest list. It's no matter how to do that.
Okay, I see. Rowlett, what were you gonna say? You have your hand raised, so I assume that did you want to say something? Rowlett, you're muted in case you're trying to talk. Now you're unmuted. Hello, can you hear me?
Me? Are you talking about me?
The person that's raising their hand.
I think that wasn't me. Sorry.
Okay, well, anyway, it's 8 o'clock now, so technically the course is over, but this took more time than I thought it was going to, so we actually didn't get to the second sample ethical dilemma or virtue ethics, but I'll talk about virtue ethics next class.
Just show us the second example.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, actually. So, but first of all, I want to be respectful of all of your times. You might have class. So if any of you need to leave, go ahead. The second example is similar to the first, so it's not that important. So feel free to leave right now. But I'm going to extend the course to like maybe 5 minutes for the second ethical dilemma. Yeah, bye everyone for people who are leaving. So the second one is, you're involved in a two-way car crash on your way to work one morning, in which you accidentally hit and kill a pedestrian. As you get out the car, you are intercepted by a tearful woman who seems to think that she hit and killed the pedestrian. You're not sure why she thinks she hit the person, but she is convinced. There's only you, the woman, and the person you hit on the road. No witnesses. You know that whoever is deemed responsible will be sent to jail. So, I mean, we already did like what would the consequentialists do and what would the deontologists do. So my question is simply, what would you do? And Harrison, I see your comment. It's 11 p.m. for you.
I'm an evil person. I would.
Sorry, go ahead. What'd you say?
I would not tell her anything and leave.
Okay. So
Really?
So why is that?
Because it makes me have less consequence.
Okay. That's valid, I guess. Frank says frame her and hit out, so that's similar. I assume that your reasoning is similar as well. Alvin, go ahead.
Well, it's also kind of like you killed a person. Like, how can you be like, okay, so fine, you're sure, but like the woman thinks that she hit it and she's convinced. So like, if you like don't have to go to jail, why would you try to get into jail? But like just taking the blame, yeah, it's not moral, it's not ethical, but like still, like it's like it's like lots of people everyone has some everyone is like at least a little selfish. Like it's kind of not like, it's kind of like, why would you like try to go to jail?
Oh my God, dude! With all respect, that's ridiculous.
What do you say that, Maris?
We save people, we help people. That's mine, of course. That's my life belief. And if you break the law, right, you go to jail. as the grade he died before, the student from him might be safer, but he choose